Philip Dubé. What are you thinking on this one, Philip? It seems like the jury, we've seen it before where a jury sends a note to the judge. We're in an impasse and voila, there's a verdict sometime later. This case seems a bit different, though.
Well, courts have an interest in seeing trials to verdict because of this trite notion of what's called judicial economy. There's a fine line between assisting jurors with disputes and conflicts or curiosity, if you will, or questions that they might have during deliberations versus truly being at an impasse. This court is probably going to end up having to declare a mistrial. But sometimes the jury might be able to identify a very specific issue. Maybe there's a disagreement on the definition of a word. So, for example, I think one of the theories that the jury could convict Mr. Kelly on is a form of reckless homicide. And sometimes the term reckless is so difficult to explain or to define. But the bottom line is you don't have to intend to kill, actually form the intent to want to end a life. It could be based on conduct where you engage in such an unjustifiable, substantial risk of death, knowing good and well that what you're doing could end a life. And by all accounts, he fired up 9 shots out into the ranch there. Certainly, his testimony to the police was he did it to warn them to stay away, get off his property, not to end a life. Okay. The problem for the prosecution now is that even if the jury believes what he did was reckless, the prosecution, in my opinion, did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one of Mr. Kelly's bullets hit the victim. They never recovered it. And the coroner obviously never recovered anything from the decedent's remains. Nothing was found out there on the ranch. And other people, if I recall from the evidence, testified that other shots were being fired. So it would be fundamentally unfair to say that Mr. Kelly was a substantial factor in this victim's death, because without any proof that it came from his gun or, one of the 9 shots came from him, etc., would be a substantial factor. I think the jury could render a flawed verdict. So right now they're at an impasse, and I'm only guessing. I'm only surmising that that's what's going on. Alternatively, they could be at odds about whether or not he acted in self-defense. Some of the jurors might feel that he crossed a line with what I call disproportional amount of force. Just because you have an unarmed migrant crossing your land, does that mean you get to start taking out a sidearm and blasting people? No, we place a higher value on human life than we do on property itself. And absent some threat of imminent death or bodily harm to Mr. Kelly or his wife, he had no right under Arizona law to use deadly force. That could be the hiccup in that jury room.
And we'll see if there's anything out of there as they begin deliberations in the next few minutes. We'll find out one way or another over the next few hours, and we'll update you. We'll get a break now, and when we come back, we're still waiting for the jury to return in the Chad Daybell case, crossing